Great. So thank you very much for agreeing to do this. The first thing I want to ask you about is, well, why have you decided to run?
Well, thank you, Lorena, for that question. First of all, um, my name is Michael Dublin. I'm running for the United States House of Representatives for Congressional District 2 here in the state of North Carolina.
Yeah.
And I'm running to support climate justice in this country. It's something that um, in my lifetime I have been working towards. I have, stood against exploitation and of dumping chemicals in marginalized communities. Um, I've stood against exploitation of our resources, our natural resources.
Yeah.
Uh, we have in North Carolina, we have polluted waters because of industries that put forever chemicals in our water and other
Yeah.
chemicals that negatively affect the environment and people who drink the water and eat food grown from the soil that's irrigated by the water that's polluted. So I decided to run for that. Also, I mean, there are many reasons. Healthcare in this country, I don't want to spend too much time going over the figures. I think by now a lot of people know that the figures of the amount of people who spend a lot of money on healthcare and not get the healthcare that they need in this country. I mean, I'm personally affected by that. I have medical bills now, and many people do, and a lot of people I know had to make the choice between medicine and food, or medicine and paying their rent. And
Yeah.
the statistics has already shown how many people in this country go bankrupt for medical debt, and it's this idea that people are should be exploited for money. So our medical system in this country doesn't look at people as being valuable, but look at them as being a commodity to make
Yeah.
money. And then you tie in the war machine that takes billions of our dollars, billions and billions, and just supports colonialism, supports genocide, supports um, just destruction around the world, which is not good for the environment. And so there
Yeah.
are many different reasons I decided to run, but I would say this: I've been involved with social justice and environmental justice for a long time. It's just that now I have decided to take more of a leadership in the political arena, which I've always been involved in. I've always, you know, tried to get other people involved. I'm a retired teacher. I tried to get young people involved, and some of them did. So I'm excited, Lorena, to be here with you to see a young person who is interested in this and is getting involved. And that means, reaching out to young people like you and other people is something that's an interest of mine, and it always has been because I'm future focused. I have kids, I have grandkids. This is Earth Day, and I want them to have a land they can live
Yeah.
on where they have drinkable water and
Yeah.
clean.
So which specific policies do you think that should be implemented in order to support climate justice in North Carolina?
Well, it's North Carolina, and it's since I'm running for U.S. House, it has to be a national policy as well.
Yeah.
I definitely, if you go to my page, DublinForCongress.com, there's a climate justice and Green New Deal section. So yes, it's the Green New Deal here that was first put in place by the Green Party, and the Democratic Party has co-opted some of it, but definitely stand for green new jobs, featuring unionized, livable wage jobs, green jobs, and giving all workers in polluting industries the option of a union job, building green infrastructure with no
Yeah.
loss of pay, benefits, or seniority. I believe in public ownership. I support banning new oil and gas drilling and taking the top polluting companies into democratic public ownership. And I stand for a democratically planned transition to 100% renewable energy. This light that you see me behind me is lighting my face up. It comes from
Yeah.
this we call the sun. It's a star. It has limitless amount of energy. It gives us
Yeah.
warmth, gives us light, and we can use this that we've been blessed with, um, instead of drilling and polluting the air and polluting water. We have we have options that are viable
Yeah.
and that protect our environment. It just causes a change in thinking from exploiting our planet to living with our planet and living, with the sources we have been given. There's a star out there, and it's lighting up my face right now, and
Yeah.
it's giving me warmth, and it has boundless energy. And so I don't know. I don't know why it's so difficult for people to realize that we can do this, other than the fact that there are those who are only wanting to line their pockets with money, and they don't seem to care about the future.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you were mentioning, water being polluted by, by big corporations. I guess that maybe one of the main issues that have been that some other candidates have told me is that you have these AI centers, data centers, um, getting lots of public land inside their communities, and using it for using it without caring for the environment. I don't know if it's the case in the communities you are intended to represent, but it's a common it's a common concern in some so many areas that I also wanted to mention if that's something that you've you've found in your communities.
Yes, and I'm glad you said that. I mean, and that's a very relevant point, and it's very timely because I know just in the past, I would say 2 years in North Carolina, I know of at least three sites that were planned, and
Yeah,
people protested against them, and got them, and got the planning stopped for those AI centers in those different places. I think it ties into historically what we've been, fighting against. I said about the dumping of chemicals in marginalized
yeah,
communities. So that was, the 80s, 90s, and we talk about, we can go as far as the highways dividing the cities of marginalized communities, to break them up. That was done 60s, 70s, and so it's like the same struggle that we had. They go to certain places, um, basically marginalized communities, and try to take land, or they try to sneak it in. I know there was one, I think in North Carolina, where there were secret plans, and then some of the
yeah,
people find out and say, "Hey, no, we don't want that in our communities." So that is definitely a problem that's happening right now. And they come in, want to build these data centers, and then want to charge us for the water, after they
yeah,
pollute it. But it's not just them. It's big. It's meat plants and other industries around that use up water, and add chemicals, and add the PFAs, the forever chemicals, to our water.
yeah. Moving on to healthcare, you were mentioning the high costs of health insurance, of course. Um, which policies would you like to implement in regards to healthcare?
Well, healthcare, for me, I would support and stand for a healthcare for all, system, or Medicaid for all. as some call
Yeah.
it. Um, it's shocking that we still have this system that's tied to jobs. Um, and I think it goes back to I don't know how much you know about American history, but I was a teacher and I grew up in North Carolina. But during the days of slavery in this country,
Yeah.
um, it's almost like the same system because when healthcare is tied to your job, that means if they mistreat you or if it's a toxic environment or they misuse you or not paying you enough money, if your family is getting healthcare through that job, then you're kind of trapped. And there are many people that are trapped by that. And those
Yeah.
that choose not to, um, those that choose to start their own businesses or, a lot of young people now just is doing like DoorDash and things like that. And where's their health care? And so a lot of them are without health care. And, so a lot of people are choosing, when they get sick, not to go to the hospital or not to take their medicines. Um,
Yeah.
and the amount of the percentage of debt that people incur because of medical debt is it's astonishing. And so I support a health care for all, Medicaid for all, and am I naive enough to think once I'm elected and go into a chamber with 434 other representatives that I'll be able to get it done by myself? I'm not. So I'm definitely would stand and support legislation to move towards that, expanding Medicaid. And at some point, hopefully, we'll get to the point once we start, we can get to that Medicaid for all. I think it's a
Yeah.
change of thinking because again, right now, those that's in charge, those that's in Congress, they get health care. So they're not really all that concerned about the average people because they get money from these big medical companies, and that's who they're going to support. My hope
Yeah.
is in young people that will see this and say, "Hey, why is it like this? We in other countries they spend less per citizen on their health care, and they have universal health care, and we spend more and get less." And again, my hope is that you get someone like me or some other Green Party member who supports Medicaid for all or healthcare for all, and then we can get the ball rolling in a real true way. And even if I can't get the legislation to the floor of the House, maybe I can introduce a committee or support other members of Congress who may introduce it into committee, and I can sponsor that.
Yeah.
But so there definitely is a plan, and my definitely hope is that we get it started, and younger people will run for office and get in office and keep it moving and pushing it along, so that we can change the system, which has to change because it can't last. I mean, you just can't
Yeah.
keep exploiting people for profit and not treating people with human dignity and respect and treating them like people who deserve health care. Health care is a human right. So
Yeah.
we're not asking for something above and beyond. We're just asking for the basics. When people are in office in this country, their first obligation should be to their constituents. It should be to the people. It should be helping the people. And healthcare
Yeah.
is a human right.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I also wanted to ask you about civil liberties and, of course, immigration and how do you see what the Trump administration is doing right now in regards to those issues?
Immigration has been an issue in this country for at least 100 years. I mean, since World War One.
Yeah.
Um, and it's been an issue back and forth, and I would say even before World War One. Um, And I know we don't have time to tie it all together in what we have today. I think that with the Trump administration, and I'm careful talking about specifically the Trump administration. And the reason why I'm careful is because sometimes people will hear what I say, especially like the Democrats, and use this as part of their platform.
Yeah.
Because they're really pushing hard anti-Trump, without looking at what they've done. So it's a lot of hypocrisy. But I will say this: I support abolishing ICE. What's going on right now with them going around terrorizing neighborhoods and just
Yeah.
people up and taking kids and sending we're sending people to other countries. We're sending people to Africa. People who've never been to Africa, and
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's like I'm against immigration detention centers and deportations. I stand for immediate, unconditional legalization and equal rights for undocumented immigrants. And the reason I say this, um, you know, I talked to a lot of people when a couple of years ago, and they really believe that um, that sorry, I got a call. I got that Trump's policies we're going to be just against those that's committing crime,
Yeah.
and that's not the case, and they see it now. I got former students who, were 3 and 4 years old when their parents came up to this country, and their parents went through the process of, trying to become legalized citizens, and they met roadblock after roadblock after roadblock, and um, so what did we tell them? What did we tell those people who have not committed any crimes? They work here, they pay taxes. Their children go to school. Like I said, many of them have been students in my class, um,
Yeah.
going on to college, going and got jobs, and now we want to call them illegal and say we want to send them to another country. Make it make sense, as they say. It doesn't make sense to me. Now, if they want to make the argument of tighten up the border and making sure that we're stopping drug dealers, we're stopping the cartel from sending in people, we're stopping drugs. If that's truly the case, I would support that. But this thing that's going on right now with ICE and ICE enforcement and the illegal, to
Yeah.
me, it's illegal to take people and send them to places in Africa. And they talk about saving money. How much money is that spending to round up people, put them in detention centers, put them on planes, and send them to Africa?
Yeah.
And how immoral is that? To me, it boggles my mind. Now, again, I'm not gonna 100% blame the Trump administration. I think people look at that and then they forget what happened under Biden and Obama, and they don't want to bring up
Yeah.
things. But to me, it's I look at the system and I think right now a lot of people say, "Oh, it's the Republicans," and then when the Democrats are in charge, they say, "Oh, it's the Democrats," and they play this game going back and forth, back and forth. And but we need real representation from someone who is not part of that corporate those corporate parties.
Yeah.
Um, and that's why I'm running for office. So it ties back into your first question that you asked me. I also believe immigrants have workplace protections. That ICE showing up outside people's jobs and arresting them or going in. I don't. I support workplace protections, and I stand against the destructive policies of the USA, imperialism. Um,
Yeah.
I have those working class people from those countries. It's amazing to me how many times I've heard people say, "Well, they shouldn't be coming over here," and you know, and I say, "Well, who messed up their country? Who helped them? Who supported?" And I think a lot of people don't know the history of some of these the things that happened in Africa and that the Europeans were involved in
Yeah.
the colonialization and I don't know why Belgium gets off the hook for what they did in Congo, but I mean it's almost like a lot of people forgot about that.
Yeah, that's true. That was gonna be another of my questions about foreign policy and what do you think that should change in the in America's foreign policy right now?
Well, I think first of all, and I think we look at what's happening today, and I think a lot of people are waking up to this. Um, there's a country in the Middle East, and we call it the Middle East, or some people call it Southeast Asia.
Yeah,
That that was established after World War II. Some call it the Nakba, and that country has been very involved in American politics in such a way that many are starting to wake up to the fact that um, sometimes they may be calling shots and getting us involved in a military conflict. And so I would, and I have stood for, um, changing our relationship with that country, which I'm not going to name them, but I think you know who I'm talking about.
yeah,
They have um, we send them a lot of money every year to support their economy, to support their society. They have universal health care, and we can't get it. We send them weapons, supposedly for defensive weapons, which I don't understand that terminology anyway. Defensive weapons that fire rockets into other countries and bomb civilians. I don't see how that's a defensive weapon.
yeah,
Um, so, and that same country, sends millions of dollars back to put in the coffers of our politicians. So when most American citizens don't want to get involved in a war with Iran, our Congress and our president will say, "Hey, we don't really care about what you guys want. We're going to go ahead and support this country because um,
yeah,
they're our ally." And so, regardless of how immoral, how illegal their actions are, we seem to support them in illegal and immoral acts. So that's definitely on the forefront of something I would change. Um, but this idea of colonialism and fighting against socialism has historically got the United States involved in conflicts in Vietnam and other places around the world.
yeah,
So that's definitely something I would be against that. We need to drastically cut military spending and support people at home with policies like universal health care. I support our dilapidated school system. I mean, our teachers are getting worked to death trying to do more with less, as people would say. And it just doesn't make sense when you really think about it.
yeah,
But to support our school system, to educate our youth, spend more money on, like I said, universal health care, Medicaid for all. So this idea of the colonialism around the world, the bases we have all around the world, the African and the spending of, I mean, we spend $7 billion on one aircraft carrier. As far as foreign policy, is hey, we need to do more, um, you know, coming together with our people around the world instead of fighting against people and being imperialism and colonialism. Actually, um, you know, use our words more and stop with this war machine.
yeah. Well, the last question would be about why the Green Party instead, the Democrats and Republicans are the main two parties, and most of the people would say that it's either one of them, but you have chosen to run on a third party platform. So, why the Green Party?
And that's a great question. Um, and I have the answer. because their values align with my values. And you know, being from the South in the United States and
Yeah.
growing up African American, most of us were in the Democratic Party, um, because
Yeah.
that's the choice we felt like we had, and we felt like they supported us. But I think after a while we started to see um, this neoliberalism that they didn't really support us, and it actually was just talk, talk, talk. They would come around when it's time to be elected, but not back up the talk with support. And Malcolm X said, you know, that makes you a political chump to continue to believe in someone who's not really um, looking out for you. They don't. They
Yeah.
don't. They don't even respect you. And so the Green Party, when you look at our platform, it aligns with, uh, you know, what most Southern African Americans want. You know, health care for all, ending this war machine. We don't want to be over there fighting wars for profit.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, schools, schools, looking at the environment because if you think about it, most African Americans in the South are close to the environment. A lot of us, you know, have land that been in our families for generations, and we don't like, you know, the corporations polluting our water and our land. And I think that aligns with most people when you ask them. If you ask most people, they would say that's what they want, and we don't. We want
Yeah.
politicians that was. We want politicians who will actually support their constituents and not the big money interests. And that's where the Green Party aligns with me, and I align with it. Um, and that's why I'm running and not taking corporate funds because I don't want a corporation to be my puppet masters, and that's what we're seeing with the major parties.
Yeah.
I've actually talked to people who are in politics who actually agree with some things when you talk to them off the camera. Um, Common sense legislation, but they will admit that once they get in and have to vote, they're going to go with their party because they were told that's the way they had to vote.
Yeah.
So, you know, they're going against their own conscience and their own beliefs to fit in a system. This two-party system is corrupt because both parties are corporate parties and they're both war parties. And so
Yeah.
that's why I'm running for Green. I get questioned a lot. People say, "Well, you really can't win," and I think about, but what does winning look like? Winning may look different for me than it does for somebody else. If I have to win by taking corporate money, by taking funds, and then having them tell me what to do and vote against policies that I think are good for the people so that some corporations can make more money, if I have to sell my soul in order to get elected, then I'm
Yeah.
not going to do it. That's not it's not worth it to me. And I've heard people say,
Yeah.
"Well, we think strategically and work with somebody that work with us." And I say, "Well, are they really working with us, or are they just trying to get our vote so they can go ahead and do what they want to do and not look out for us?" I would rather be part of a smaller organization and start something that I can believe in, and I believe is really trying to help marginalized people, that's trying to correct historical injustices. And it may take us some time to do it, but I would rather be on this side that's trying to make, you know, positive, real changes and look out for the people and not and for the love of people, because people are humans, and not go for what corporations say or what is strategic or the lesser of two evils. Because to me, the lesser of two evils
Yeah.
is still evil, and I'm not choosing to be evil. And so I know that sounds like very simplistic, but I mean, it comes down to it. What drives you? And
Yeah.
I do get the argument, but we've been with the Democrats. We got to stay with them. That's the only hope we have. And it's amazing to me when I hear that, especially from people of faith who say they believe in God, they believe things can change, they have hope, but then when it comes to politics, they say, "Oh, well, we have no choice." but to choose the lesser of two evils. In my mind, it doesn't add up, and that's why I'm choosing to
Yeah.
run with the Green Party.
All right. Well, great. Thanks for answering all my questions and all the, best wishes for your campaign.
Thank you, Lorena, and ask your listeners and viewers to go to DublinForCongress.com. You guys can support our movement, help us pump up the volume on peace, help us pump up the volume on healthcare, help us pump up the volume on saving our environment.
All right. Well, thank you very much again. Have a nice day.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Have a good day.
You too.